During the 1890s, a new woman emerged in America who instantly changed and challenged the standard feminine image. And my, was she a force to be reckoned with. The Gibson Girl was the personification of the feminine ideal of physical attractiveness as portrayed by the pen and ink drawings of Charles Dana Gibson during a 20-year period that spanned the late 19th and early 20th century in the US. After training at the Art Students League in New York City and in Europe, Gibson began to create satirical illustrations based on his observations of upper middle class life for such mainstream magazines as Life, Collier's Weekly, Harper's Weekly, Scribner's, and Century. In the 1890s, he created the Gibson Girl, vibrant new feminine ideal who was the visual embodiment of what writers of the period described as the new woman. The Gibson Girl pursued higher education, romance, marriage, physical well-being, and individuality with unprecedented independence. These free-spirited, fierce women were emboldened by suffragettes of the time, who broke apart traditional female roles. The glamorous Gibson Girl set the standard for beauty, fashion, and manner, bringing Dana Gibson unrivaled professional and popular success. The Gibson Girls illuminated how women's increasing presence in the public sphere contributed to the social fabric of the turn of the century America, and brings renewed appreciation to an artist whose illustrations helped capture the spirit of this informative era. Progressive politics had introduced new divorce laws, and jobs were being taken up by women, who no longer considered their home as their only place of work. These new women, especially the younger one, forging a new identity that represented an authentic milestone in women's history. The Gibson Girl sought fulfillment and a degree of independence, but not at all like the suffragette, who was paving the way for a completely new, unconventional form of femininity. The Gibson Girl image went like this. A member of upper-class society, she was always perfectly dressed in the latest fashionable attire. Her social status allowed her the time to look for personal fulfillment, finding it in the most unusual places. The Gibson Girl might be an adventurer who embraced outdoor physical activity, often cycling in Central Park, or swimming, playing tennis, golfing. As well, she ventured beyond the social sphere, considered the standard for upper-class women, and enjoyed such hobbies as drawing, painting, singing, or playing the violin. She was a fragile lady and a voluptuous woman at the same time. She enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle and was defined by an athletic figure and other attractive qualities. The Gibson Girl was tall, her slender lines expressing her respectability, while larger hips and bust added to her seductiveness. She wore her hair piled high in a pompadour or chignon style. She also wore a spoonbill corset that she herself introduced the new trend of the S-curve torso shape. The Gibson Girl's wardrobe was full to the brim, with elegant dresses, shirtwaists and gowns, and floor-length skirts worn on the appropriate occasion and at the proper time. The Gibson Girl was calm in spirit, yet self-possessed and poised. She didn't involve herself in politics and managed to stay large within the boundaries of traditional female roles, and the Gibson Girl was presumably equal companions to men. They were always picky about men. Many were single and uncommitted, but were always involved in a romance to fight boredom. Men would often admire the Gibson Girl, following them everywhere, and were drawn to their irresistible beauty and charm. So I have a couple of things to say about that. So she's supposed to be an upper middle class woman, but yet be independent. May or may not have a man. Women really didn't work in those days, but it's not as though a woman having a job was low class or poor or not respectable, but women, unfortunately, did not make equal pay of that of a man at the time. So she was supposed to be independent, curvy, vivacious, sweet-tempered, may or may not depend on a man, have money, and be high-born or of high class, but yet not really have a job to pursue personal fulfillment. Like, while I agree with that, sure, there's nothing wrong with relying on a spouse to financially support you, but it kind of seems unrealistic though, and almost kind of putting too much pressure on women to live to this higher standard of perfection when, you know, even respectable women that were of lesser means or low class wanted to dress like her, but maybe couldn't afford to have a wardrobe full to the brim of the latest fashionable gown. So maybe it's not necessarily something that you should live for, or that they were supposed to live up to in every sense of the word, but just be a educated, responsible, respectable, attractive young woman who may or may not have a spouse, with a sense of independence. Like, she can get a job if she wants, she can marry a man and have him support her, or support herself with a job. Like, so I agree with that, but I don't agree with like the extreme high level of achieving perfectionism. Gibson's illustrations inspired women across the world to follow the idealized image, creating a national beauty standard for American women. The Gibson Girls gained instant recognition, and many women posed for the Gibson Girl style illustrations, including Gibson's wife, Irene Longhorn, who was probably the original inspiration for the Gibson Girl. The most famous of his models was the actress Camille Gifford, a supermodel of her day, and Evelyn Nesbit. Their images invaded popular culture, as well as selling their images on ashtrays, pillowcases, souvenirs, saucers, fans, etc. The Gibson Girl was only popular for about 20 years, before Gibson's starlet started to fade with the outbreak of the First World War. Years before the First World War broke out, when her jealous husband was ensnared in an infamous murder trial, when her jealous husband killed Stanford White on the rooftop theater of Madison Square Garden. This seemed to point out all of the pitfalls of being a style beauty icon. Nonetheless, the persona of the Gibson Girl paved the way for future style beauty icons, such as the flapper Clara Bell. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in the tidbits of info I come across due to my research findings from my Johnson to history, I have many more videos planned surrounding the topics of fashion history. Please consider subscribing if you don't want to miss out on what I uncover.